Well, welcome back. We're wrapping up this week's third episode of Season 3 of The Mandalorian. Welcome to the Doomcast. My name is Dan Umpton.
And I'm Damon Tucker.
And this was something else.
Yeah, I'm continually being surprised and giving up pretty much any of my predictions on what's going to happen.
Yeah, I feel like we kind of got a subtle misdirect, but not really in the last episode, because I thought this was going to be very mythosaur focused, and it was substantially not mythosaur focused.
Right.
They even pretended it didn't. Well, Bo-Katan was just kind of pretended it didn't happen.
Keep this one close.
Yeah, it was wild because the very first scene is Din waking up, recognizing that he had succeeded in bathing in the waters of the mines of Mandalore, and she straight up asks him, "Did you see anything alive down there?" And he's like, "Nope, it seemed good."
Don't know what you're talking about. Just kind of fell to the bottom.
It's I don't know why she would keep that under her hat, considering. But okay.
I mean, I guess the only thing I think is that she's still trying to figure out if she can trust him, given what she knows about the clan that he comes from, leaning towards doing that, but still not there yet. And
and we end up getting to the clan at the end of this, but I was very excited in the space and air battle.
It was sick.
That
was one of the most fun air battles that come to mind. I just remember feeling like I don't remember being this excited.
In a live action Star Wars show, it probably in a lot of even movies.
Yeah.
There's not a lot, the stakes felt very high, especially when the TIE bombers showed up and they were just like, all right, we took down a few of these jerks.
Yeah.
What was she? What did she? Mud scrappers?
Something like that. Yeah.
I was like, all right. I wish she had just said nerf herders, because I want that to just be the universal MFer. Right. But also the fact that they were TIE interceptors, which is that's that next to I'm an old school TIE fighter,
right.
LucasArts gamer, and that the quad laser on the old TIE interceptor, and the gunboat was the other one that I loved. But
yeah, very. Oh, and Din dropping out from Bo-Katan's and just last minute jetpack to reduce the fall, and then hopping in the starfighter and joining was I was very hyped for that. That was so cool.
Just getting strafed on the runway of the castle, which ended up getting freaking mostly destroyed.
It looked like pretty much ruined.
Yeah. I don't know where I don't know if they're going to end up. I hope they go back to Karavala. I'm sure that we'll figure out who that was.
Yeah.
But I also wonder if they are behind the other majority chunk of the episode.
Yeah. So, I mean, we got Dr. Pershing, who, when shown before, seems kind of, not necessarily a malevolent person, which we see in this episode, that he's more like science first. The Empire gave him the opportunity to do that. He seems to genuinely think that the New Republic might benefit from his work, and he's seems to have a legitimate interest in furthering their goals.
All he wants to do is clone organs. I don't know why they wouldn't let the guy do that, but I also feel like, in your Operation Paperclip with the Empire, I understand you'd be gun shy, but it's weird that they were doing that anyway, because this is a big lesson in, after you overturn an insurrection, you should probably kill all of the people involved. Dr. Pershing was fine, but also did we not learn from the Confederacy? Did we not learn from almost every single insurrection in human history? Anyway.
Right. There's actually in not to go on too long of a tangent, but in the audiobook Bloodlines that centers around Leia, there's a character, Ransom Casterfo, who has a ton of Imperial kind of memorabilia in his office. And the scene where she first enters and sees that is very chilling. It kind of, the best comparison would be like if you were to walk into someone's office and there was just Nazi uniforms and swastikas everywhere, and she's kind of like, how are you a member of the New Republic?
Yikes.
Given all of this. Anyways, that's a whole other topic, but kind of centers around what it looks like to appropriate something that came from a regime so horrible, and why they're kind of off-put from taking advantage even from technology that's potentially helpful to them.
Yeah, which at the same time, I get that like a lot of those guys seemed like they were very willing and interested in trying to put that past them and behind them. But the Katie O'Brien character, Elia
Kane, yeah,
was not what I expected at all. But also, like, the farther you got along in the episode, you're like, he's getting set up.
Yeah.
And it becomes very clear.
I felt like she was kind of a suspicious character to begin with once the episode started, but it was kind of a little bit like, where's this going to go? What is the motivation here? So it is still even a little bit confusing on what exactly it is. It's hinted, though, that Moff Gideon did escape en route to the War Tribunal, which would mean that she's likely, still working with Moff Gideon. Potentially Moff Gideon was in charge of the Siege of Mandalore, so the TIE interceptors and the TIE bombers that Din and Bo-Katan ran into, probably also Moff Gideon.
Yeah, definitely. It's a little fingerprint that seems like it's very likely, and I feel like she's way too comfortable in the Imperial-looking fatigues. Like the uniform just feels. She's too comfortable in that rigidity, and I think it's the haircut that just looks a little malevolent. But
it seems kind of funny that they would give the amnesty program uniforms that look so similar to the Imperial officer uniforms. But
it's also disturbing to me that they are making the New Republic out to be like the Empire 2.0 a little bit, close to the end. Like, you see him get set up, and then my first question is, why did the New Republic security just let her walk away with the mobile lab and not mention anything to her, and then have her observing it? Then you see at the very end, while he's being mind-flayed, she just turns the dial all the way up to where it's basically going to cook him, and you figure, all right, Dr. Pershing's done.
Yeah, or irreparably damaged in some capacity, but I almost thought she might turn it off and give him some sort of threat and maybe explain what other secret motivation there might be going on, and here's the plan that we actually need you for.
And we got nothing.
Nope.
No.
I did think one thing super interesting, sort of a kind of Easter egg when we first get brought to Coruscant, and Dr. Pershing is with the droid that is operating the taxi, and the droid is telling him about the museum exhibits, and the two things that he mentions as museum exhibits are technology of hyperspace travel and extinct creatures. So references to episode 1 and episode 2.
Wow. Well,
so that was kind of fun.
I didn't notice that immediately, but that does all connect, because that's like, you don't just have the extinct creatures in the mythosaur. Also, like, you've got the quasi, like, they're not mythical, Purrgil aren't, but they're also not, like, known commonly, it doesn't seem like.
No.
But man, I wonder how that's going to tie into stuff. It was also neat to see the whole concept of like, hey, this is the only point on Coruscant that you can actually see the planet. Where it's just like, that's how high up they are. Interesting, but
the tallest point sticks out just a little bit.
Also, the fact that he jumps onto the train at a point and he goes, Tongs Days, am I right? That one of the days is named after the original indigenous people of Coruscant is a little wild.
Yeah.
I didn't know that they had a codified day system necessarily, and I don't know if that's like just galactic basic day system.
I hadn't heard it, so I looked it up. I guess it is. I guess it's basically their Tuesday. So it seems kind of weird to hop on a train and be like, Tuesdays, huh? And then have everyone kind of go, yeah, totally.
You're getting chased by the conductor robots, and you're going to the very back of this thing, and golly, she looks like an imp.
A typical Tuesday.
I can't. Would the most obvious camera work, but also the like. That was a good, not so subtle, but still good thing that you did where he's like, what did you want to be when you grow up? And she literally steps back into the shadows so her face was covered. I was like, that's all I needed for confirmation that something very bad is about to happen to Pershing. Kind of a bummer.
And overall, we talked about this for like 2 seconds before we started filming this, but this episode really kind of captured what Andor provided to the audience, and I think that's a good, if not direction, but just snip of for a single episode to have something that provides kind of what people liked about Andor, to explore what that looks like in the New Republic instead of
in the Empire. It reminded me of the 2 episodes that you get that are primarily set inside of the prison with Andy Serkis. It felt tonally similar and paced kind of the same way. And then I guess the episode wraps with Din and Bo-Katan going to the covert. Sorry. Did they mention the planet? I still don't think they mentioned the planet.
I don't think so. I'm probably just going to think about it as the planet with a giant alligator turtle until we're told otherwise.
Turtle Gataween. It was awkward because immediately, who was under the Paz Vizsla suit?
That's Jon Favreau.
Okay, I figured
at least
as
he's
much.
The voice. I don't know if he's actually in the suit, but
that's what I mean. I don't, because whoever was pulling off the subtle I'm just gonna throw this rock derisively because I know who's on that ship.
Yeah.
I was like, snap, I do like to not like this guy.
Yeah.
The heavy.
Paz Vizsla is definitely, in my opinion, is probably going to be the main antagonist within the. Of course, here I am making predictions. Watch us cut to this next week when I'm completely wrong, but and he dies or something. But
I'm inclined to agree with you.
But I mean, one thing is, I mean, he immediately noticed Bo-Katan and called her Night Owl.
Yeah.
Which means that he's more familiar with who she is and where she's from than most of the rest of the covert. And given the history between the clans of Vizsla and Bo-Katan, probably not a good relationship there from whatever he is aware of or maybe even has some involvement in before this.
Yep.
It does also kind of raise the question of how old is Paz Vizsla? How old is the Armorer? Like how far does this? How long have they been around?
Yeah. Especially that she has this litmus test. Like he conveniently brought a vial of water, and she was able to just verify this was from the Mines of Mandalore. You're good.
Right.
You're redeemed. And then she drops the whole idea on Bo-Katan. By the way, if you haven't removed your helmet yet, you're still technically in the good graces of our savior, the Way. So welcome to our cult.
Turns out their rules are pretty simple. It's kind of just don't take your helmet off. It seems much more rigid than that.
They're basically Pentecostals. It's just like, did you get water sprinkled on you and somebody said the words? Well, Matt, you're a believer now. You're part of the way.
And she's been baptized.
She also, again, conveniently neglected to be like, by the way, not only is Mandalore a place that we could go back and take over, but there's a fucking mythosaur down there.
Another thing not mentioned, who has the Darksaber? Does Bo-Katan still have it? Presumably. What does that mean going forward, especially if Din's clan is to see that she has it?
I'm going to have to go back and watch episode 2, but did he put it back? I thought he put it back on his belt. He might not have.
Did she give it back to him? I may have missed that.
She might have, and I think that, I think the thing that I was wondering about there was she wielded it in defense of somebody else, but didn't win it in combat with the person who was holding it.
Right.
And she's probably rigid enough in her own beliefs. She's not gonna. Just like she didn't when he offered it to her, she was like,
"Right,
no, I don't. I have to kill you for it." So,
but if the person that was wielding it was incapacitated, did the being who incapacitated that person, is that person the ruler? And then if she obtains it, it seems like it's gray area is the point I'm getting at.
You get into it feels very Klingon, like it's just trying to put together more special rituals and more complication than you actually need, but it just advances the plot and also conveniently keeps the MacGuffin in the hands of the main male hero in this case, which is like, it's awesome that Bo-Katan's shaping into a central character and co-protagonist of the story. But predictions.
Man. I think we're at a point where we're going to see Moff Gideon. I think Moff Gideon and whatever happened with him and whatever he's doing now is what we see next. Really, as far as what the Mandalorian clan is planning to do now that Din has been redeemed, haven't got the slightest clue. I do think that they're probably going to mention that Bo-Katan's castle was bombarded and that there's Imperials that are now in Mandalorian systems again. So they're probably going to be looking out for that.
I really think that if I agree with you that Paz is probably going to be a main antagonist, but I think that either one of two things is going to happen there. He's either going to recognize that he's got the Darksaber and really was in the minds of Mandalore and kind of like have a little conversion moment, or he's going to become a bigger antagonist. But either way, I think we're going to see a point where Din and Bo-Katan unite most of the Mandalorians, both the army that she had already raised,
right,
and the Children of the Watch that are just out in their little conclaves and whatnot.
I do think that Bo-Katan's previous companions are bound to return.
I agree that we're going to see Moff Gideon. I don't know if it's going to be as soon as the next episode. It might be, because I think you can't foreshadow somebody 2 times that you effectively had everybody thinking that you'd written out in the second season and not bring them back.
Yeah.
Also, Giancarlo Esposito is like out doing a bunch of conventions still, and I'm pretty sure that's not changing. But then again, so is the entire cast of Boy Meets World, and they are not getting back together. Ryder Strong is not doing jack.
I also think we're going to have a bigger Grogu episode, just because the pacing of this one didn't involve him much. I feel like the writers have got to know that that's a real crowd pleaser and that they've got to give people what they want after going a week without doing much with that character.
It's it's really been heavily Mando-centric.
Yeah.
And you do a whole like side episode imp-centric. I know that probably kids were just like, boring. Like me as an adult, I'm like, character development. But I also, wanted the space battle too. So, anything else to wrap up or to add?
That's all I've got. I can't wait for next week.
Yeah, we're going to be halfway through the season, right? Are they doing 8 episodes?
I believe it's 8, yeah.
Okay. Because the other 2 have been 8, so it would track. Well, sick. That's going to be a lot of fun. Well, thanks everybody again for watching. If you've got predictions or there's things that you thought we missed, let us know in the comments. Thanks very much for watching. We'll see you again next week. Peace. We timed the peace very well.